Silavanta Sutta is a discussion between two Buddha's foremost disciple, Venerable Sariputra and Venerable Makutika. Venerable Makutika asks, Silavata Uso Sariputra Bhikkhuna Katame Dhamma Yoniso Manasi Katapa. And Venerable Sariputra answer, Silavata Uso Kutika Bhikkhuna Pinju Parana Khanda Anicca Dukkha Anatta Anicca Dukkha Roga Ganda Sanla Agata Abada Parata Paloka Sunya Anatta Yoniso Manasikatapa. So when we practice vipassana meditation, we need to observe these five aggregates of clinging or upadana khanda or mind and matter, mundane khanda, mundane lokiya khanda in 11 ways. If we do not see in this way, our practice is wrong. You need to you need to observe the five aggregates of clinging as impermanent, as suffering, as a disease, as tumor, as death, as misery, as affliction, as alien, as dissolution, disintegration, as empty, as non-self. If you do not watch the five aggregates of clinging in this way, your practice wrong. It is not vipassana. Yoni samanasikatapa. Correctly attend to, wisely attend to. So you need to watch your mind and body in this way. If you see that arising and disappearing, nature, it is correct. It is uncontrollable, it is correct. It is non-self, it is correct. So you see the phenomena, not seeing as seeing every time you see the object, and to see these five aggregates of clinging of mind and matter as they really are. They are impermanent, they are suffering, they are no living entity, they are non-self. So try to increase your concentration and mindfulness to capture the stage of just seeing. Seeing come and then quickly go. Hearing come and quickly go. Smelling come and quickly go. Tasting, touching and knowing. And if you can capture the true nature, the reality, ultimate reality, you have no way to attach to these mind and matter. You have no attachment, no cling to these five aggregates of clinging. So question and answer between two disciples of the Buddha. Can you follow me? Silavata Uso Sariputra Bhikkhuna Katame Dhamma Yoni Somanasikatapa. Answer Silavata Uso Kutika Bhikkhuna Pinjuparane Khanda Aniccato Dukkhato Rogato Khandato Sanlato Agato Abadato Parato Palogato Sunyato Anattato Yoniso Manasikatava. Recite together. Silavata Uso Sariputta Bhikkhuna Katame Dhamma Yoniso Manasikatava. Silavata Uso Guttika Bhikkhuna Pinjuparane Khanda Aniccato Dukkhato Rogato Gandhato Sanlato Agato Avadato Parato Palogato Sunyato Anattato Yoniso Manasikatava. Again. Silavata Uso Sariputta Bhikkhuna Katame Dhamma Yoniso Manasikatava. Silavata Uso Guttika Bhikkhuna Pinjuparane Khanda Aniccato Dukkhato Rogato Gandhato Sanlato Agato Abadato Parato Palogato Sunyato Anattato Yoniso Manasikatava. Translation, follow me. Friend Sariputta, what are the things that a virtuous bhikkhu should carefully attend to? Answer, friend Guttika, a virtuous bhikkhu should carefully attend to the five aggregates subject to clinging as impermanent, as suffering, as a disease, as tumor, as death, as misery, as affliction, as alien, as dissolution, as empty, as non-self. So meditator should carefully attend to the five aggregates subject to clinging, carefully attend to the upadana khandha. So Venerable Sariputta continue. What are the five upadana khandha you want to explain? Can you follow me? Number two. Katame pinja seyadidam rupu parane khanda vedanu parane khanda sinyu parane khanda singaru parane khanda vinyanu parane khanda. Read together. Katame pinja seyadidam rupu parane khanda vedanu parane khanda sinyu parane khanda singaru parane khanda vinyanu parane khanda. Again. Katame pinja rupu parane khanda Vedanubharane Kanda Kanda Singarubharane Kanda Vinyanubharane Kanda. Translation, follow me. What are the five aggregates of clinging? Namely, physical aggregates, subject to clinging, feeling aggregates, subject to clinging, perception aggregates, subject to clinging, mental formation aggregates, subject to clinging, consciousness aggregates, subject to clinging. So this is Silavanta Sutta. According to the answer given by the Venerable Sariputra in the Silavanta Sutta, a meditator is virtuous and his or her sila is pure, and, meditator who is virtuous is should practice vipassana meditation to see the five aggregates of clinging as impermanence, as suffering, as disease, as non-self, etc. Immediately following this Silavanta Sutta in the Sanyutta Nikaya, there is a discourse called the Sutta Vanta Sutta. We can regard the Sutta Vanta Sutta as a sister sutta, as the text is the same as the Silavanta Sutta. The only difference being that the meditator here is Sutta Vanta, an instructed meditator. The word sutta means heard. In ancient times, writing materials were not easily available, and it may have been customary in those days not to write down the teachings of the Buddha. So the teacher taught, and the student learned by listening to his talk. This is how the word sutta came to mean something a person has learned, and sutta vanta means one who possesses knowledge through learning, one who is knowledgeable. Suttavata. So Pali the same, Silavata, Suttavata, Suttavata Usakutika Bhikkhuna, Pinchupada Nekhanda, Aniccato, Dukkhato, Rogato, etc. So in this discourse, Venerable Mahakutika asked Venerable Sariputra the same question as in the Silavanta Sutta. What are the things that an instructed meditator should carefully attend to? And the answer is also the same. An instructed meditator who has the necessary knowledge of the Buddha teaching should carefully attend to the five aggregates of clinging as impermanence, as suffering, as disease, as non-self. So these two sutta may be regarded as one, in order to see the five aggregates of clinging as impermanence, suffering, and so on, what we need to do, we need concentration. Without concentration, we cannot hope to see the five aggregates of clinging as impermanence and so on. So concentration is an important factor in our practice of meditation. Whether your practice is samatha meditation or vipassana meditation, you need to have this essential part of meditation practice. To gain concentration, what must you do? To gain concentration, you must practice mindfulness. Without mindfulness, you cannot get concentration, because mindfulness means thorough awareness of the object. If there is no thorough awareness of the object, there can be no concentration in the mind. So to get concentration, it is necessary to practice mindfulness. Now you always mindful, sitting, standing, walking, seeing, hearing, everywhere mindful, every places, every behavior you try to be mindful. That is the way to develop your concentration. In order to practice mindfulness, what do you do? What do you need? In order to practice mindfulness, you need to make effort. Without making effort, you cannot practice mindfulness. The three most essential things for our practice of meditation are concentration, samadhi, mindfulness, sati, and effort, virya. First, you make effort to be mindful, and you become mindful. Then with the support of effort and mindfulness, you get concentration. Once you gain concentration, once you gain stillness of mind, your mind is free from mental hindrances. Kamicana nivarana, sensual desire. Vyavara nivarana, evil. Tinamida nivarana, sloth and torpor. Uddhacca, guguja, restlessness and worry, and doubt, vicikicca. If your mind is free from these mental hindrances, then you will begin to see the five aggregates of clinging, or you will see the mind and matter as impermanence, as suffering, as a disease, and so on. At the moment you are happy because you can capture the reality of anicca, dukkha, anatta, impermanence, suffering, and non-self. So of the three main steps in meditation, virya, sati, and samadhi, mindfulness is the most important. Because mindfulness is required for all meditation, it can never be too strong. We need it to be strong, and the stronger it is, the better. But we need to be careful with the other two steps, effort and concentration. Effort can be too little or too much, and concentration can be too little or too much. If there is too little effort, we cannot practice mindfulness. And if there is too much effort, we also cannot practice mindfulness. Too much effort leads to agitation and restless, and it can come when meditator is so eager to achieve something, when meditator is so eager to reach enlightenment, when you are so eager to get good results, with such eagerness, you tend to put more effort than is needed. And when more effort than needed is made, your mind becomes disturbed or it trembles and is agitated. When your mind is agitated, it cannot stay on the object. So too much effort is to be avoided when practicing meditation. And concentration can be too much also. When there is too much concentration, you tend to lose, you tend to reduce effort. Then concentration regains the upper hand and your effort level falls again, leading you to be lazy or sleepy. You are in imbalance. When there is lack of effort, the necessary concentration for meditation suffers. So these kinds of cycle must be avoided if the practice of meditation is to proceed smoothly. Effort and concentration need to be just enough for the purpose. They need to be balanced. So you are adjusting your concentration and effort every section. When you are practicing meditation, you try to be mindful of two things, rising and falling. Two things. Rising is one, falling is another one. But when another object becomes prominent at the present moment, you are to put mindfulness on that object until it disappears. Then you return to your rising and falling of the abdomen. So the basic practice is to be mindful of two objects, rising and falling of the abdomen, or whatever object might arise to distract you. Why you have to take two objects? Why not one object? Sitting is also one object. And why not more than two objects? If we have to be mindful of more than two objects, it can arouse too much effort and cause agitation. And if we have only one object to attend to, putting our mind totally on that one object is not recommended. Although we can get concentration, in this case, the concentration could become excessive. So in order for our effort not to be too much or too little, meditators are given two objects to keep their mindfulness strongly, to keep their mindfulness strong, steady, intact, and without agitation. Being mindful of just two objects helps meditator to balance effort and concentration, two important factors in the practice of meditation. They must always be balanced. They must always be just the right amount, not too much and not too little. In answering Venerable Makutika's first two questions, Venerable Sariputra had said that a virtuous meditator and an instructed meditator should attend to the five aggregates subject to clinging as impermanence, as suffering, and so on. Then Sutta, instructed meditator, raised a question. How much knowledge does a person need before he can practice meditation? It is in the paper, page number 5, number 11. How much knowledge does a person need before he can practice meditation? And the answer is, a bhikkhu has heard that all things are not fit to be adhered to. When a bhikkhu has heard that all things are not fit to be adhered to, he directly knows everything. After hearing that all phenomena are unfit to be adhered to by craving or wrong view, he can practice meditation. So this is the answer by Buddha when the kings of Devas asked Buddha, and Buddha answered this question. So number 11, question and answer, follow me. How much knowledge a monk must have in order to practice and reach arahantship? Answer, a bhikkhu has heard that all things are not fit to be adhered to When a bhikkhu has heard that all things are not fit to be adhered to, he directly knows everything. After hearing that all phenomena are unfit to be adhered to by, by craving or wrong view, he can practice meditation. So the kings of devas, kings of deities, ask the question to the Buddha, how much knowledge a meditator must have in order to practice and reach arahantship, to become arahant, how much knowledge we need. And Buddha answer, Sabbe Dhamma Nala Abhinivesaya. That means a meditator has heard that all phenomena, all things are not fit to be adhered to, all things are not, all things are not fit to be clung to. When meditator has heard that all things are not to be clung to, he or she directly knows everything. So after hearing that all phenomena are unfit to be clung to, by craving or wrong view, you can practice meditation. So very good. So if you study Visuddhimagga, you may get the notion that you have to know a lot before you practice vipassana meditation. And Visuddhimagga, the path of purification, is a book written in the 4th century by Venerable Buddhaghosa, a scholarly monk. As it was written for meditating monks, it was taken for granted that its readers would understand many of the teaching of the Buddha. But for those who are not initiated into the teaching of the Buddha, the book, which is divided into 3 parts, is not easy to read. The subject of the first division of Visuddhimagga is how to purify your sila. And the second division of the Visuddhimagga is on concentration, samadhi, and explain the 40 subject of samatha meditation and how to prepare for meditation, how to find a teacher, and other details of samatha meditation. And it also explains the abhinyas, the 4 kinds of direct knowledge that a yogi gains after attaining the rupajana and arupajana, material and immaterial jhanas. And the third division of the Visuddhimagga is on understanding piññā. Piññā is actually about vipassana. Venerable Buddhaghosa began this division with detailed information on the aggregates, khanda, ayatana bases, sem bases, elements, dhatu, indriya, faculties, dependent origination, paticca samuppada, and the 4 noble truths, Ariya Sitya. Only after that, Venerable Buddhaghosa described the practice of vipassana meditation. So the Visuddhimagga may give you the impression that Before you can practice vipassana meditation, you have to be familiar with all the details of the aggregates and very familiar with the teaching of the Paticca dependent origination. But most of the yogis are not familiar with all these subjects in detail. Now, Saka, the kings of deities, the kings of gods, asked the Buddha, how much knowledge a monk or meditator must have in order to practice and reach arahantship? And Buddha answered, Sabbe Dhamma Nala Abhinivesaya. A meditator has heard that all things are not fit to be clung to. When a meditator has heard that all things are not fit to be clung to, he or she directly knows everything. That means that after hearing that all phenomena are unfit to be adhered to by craving or by wrong view, you can practice meditation. So a meditator needs to hear only this much, that all things are not to be taken as permanence, all things are not to be taken as happiness, all things are not to be taken as self. If you know just this much, you can practice meditation. According to this, you do not have to know much about the teaching of the Buddha in order to practice meditation. You all agree because you have no time to read. So the commentary adds a little more. It said that if you know there are four noble truths, and if you know that the first two noble truths, Dukkha Sacca and Samudaya Sacca, the truth of suffering and the truth of origin of suffering, belong to the rounds of rebirth, Dukkha Sacca or Vitta Sacca, and the other two, Nirodha and Megha Sacca, the noble truth of the cessation of suffering and noble truth of the path leading to the cessation of suffering, lead you to release from the rounds of rebirth. If you know this, you may practice meditation. And you may practice meditation only the first two, Dukkha and Samudaya Sacca. So if you know this much, you have enough knowledge to practice meditation. The Four Noble Truths you already know. Dukkha Sacca, truth of suffering; Samudaya Sacca, the origin of suffering; Nirodha Sacca, cessation of suffering; Megha Sacca, the path leading to the cessation of suffering; and Dukkha and Samudaya Sacca, the truth of suffering and the origin of suffering are mundane, and Nirodha and Megha, cessation of suffering and the path leading to the cessation of suffering are supramundane. So when practicing vipassana, you deal only with the first two, dukkha and samudaya, which are mundane, and the third and the fourth noble truth. That noble truth, Nirodha Sacca, is to be realized. You need to realize the Nibbana, a fourth noble truth. The path should be developed. The path will arise at the moment of your enlightenment. So it is the result of your practice of vipassana meditation. If you know this much, you have enough knowledge to practice vipassana meditation. What about understanding dependent origination? It has been explained in great detail in the Visuddhimagga. In this case, the sub-commentary is helpful. It says that if you know that there is a cause and that there are results of the cause, then you know dependent origination. Even if you don't know the details of dependent origination, if you know that there are causes and there are results of those causes, and if you know that they are related as cause and effect, you are said to virtually have knowledge of dependent origination. In brief, dependent origination teaches that the material and mental states of being always arise dependent on condition. Material and mental state in us always arise dependent on condition. So according to this teaching, everything in our world is conditioned. So if you know only that there are conditions and that there are those conditioned by those conditions, it is enough to say that you virtually understand dependent origination. So for those who have no knowledge of the text and commentaries, but who have some ability to think, let us consider the following. 2 months after his enlightenment, fully enlightened Buddha gave his first sermon, Dhammacakka Sutta, to the 5 disciples, Venerable Kundinya, Wapa, Badiya, Mahanama, and Asiji, 5 disciples of the Buddha. What do you think? These 5 disciples already knew about such thing as the Four Noble Truths, the aggregates, the bases, or dependent origination? They already knew or not? Can you say that these 5 disciples knew Abhidhamma from previous knowledge? But some people might say, oh, these 5 disciples had accumulated a lot of paramis, perfection, and many experience in the past. They were special, they were gifted person. So when they had the Buddha's teaching, all of that information might already have been in them. They may say, but I think we can say that these 5 disciples definitely did not possess any such knowledge. These discovery of the Buddha were unknown to any other human beings until he gave the 5 disciples his first sermon, at Isipatana. So the five disciples, Venerable Kundinya, Wapa Badiya Manama and Asiji, who had no prior knowledge of aggregates, dependent origination, and so forth, learned by listening to the Buddha's first sermon. As a result of listening, all of them became Sotapanna, and a little later they became Arahants. So we can find many such examples in the text as well as in the commentaries. Let us take just one more example. Venerable Sariputta has not yet a Buddhist when he met the Venerable Asiji. At that time, he belonged to the sect of another teacher, and he knew very little about the Buddha's teaching. But impressed by the demeanor of Venerable Asiji, he asked the Venerable Asiji to teach him something of the Dhamma. Venerable Asiji uttered an instructive verse of 4 lines. Ye Dhamma hi dupabhava desan hi tuntatakato aha desinjayo niroro evam vadima samano. Very instructive verse of 4 lines. So after listening to just the first 2 lines of that verse, Venerable Sariputta became a Sotapanna, and not long afterwards he became a disciple of the Buddha. So as Venerable Sariputta was the most gifted person after the Buddha, it was not difficult for him to get this knowledge. The moment he received the teaching from the Venerable Asiji, however, we are not so gifted as the 5 disciples of Venerable Sariputta. So we should know something about the teaching of the Buddha, but not very much. If you know that there are 5 aggregates, Rupupadana Khanda, Upadana Khanda, etc., and these 5 aggregates, they are impermanent, suffering and non-self. And if you know that there are 4 noble truths, if you have heard, read, or already know those teachings, you can practice vipassana meditation. Yes, knowledge of the aggregates is very helpful because you can verify your practice with what you already know. When you practice meditation, you experience many things, and sometimes you don't know what they are. But if you have sound knowledge of all the aggregates, you will know what is happening to you and what you are experiencing. Then you will be like a person who had read a map before going somewhere. When you are there, you know where you are and where to go. If you have a map. Also, since you are practicing under the guidance of the teacher, It is enough if you have just a little bit of information about the teaching of the Buddha. Your teacher can give you enough information about the five aggregates, mind and matter, and so on. So it is all right for you to practice meditation, even if you have not read the Visuddhimagga, because you have no time to read. Even if you do not know Abhidhamma, it is possible to practice. Your teacher will supply you with this kinds of knowledge and whatever else is necessary to know. So now we are not saying this to discourage you from studying the teaching of the Buddha. It is very good to study. It is very good to know what the Buddha taught. But if you are bent on practice, if you want to be liberated very quickly, if you are bent on practice, we want you to know that it is possible for you to practice right now. Now you are here, even without detailed knowledge of the teaching of the Buddha, because you have not too much time, so precious time to practice. But if you want to share your knowledge with your family, your friends, if you hope to be a teacher in the future, or if you are a teacher now, then certainly you will need to acquire wide knowledge of the teaching of the Buddha. So we will continue tomorrow. We have to stop our discourse for today by practicing vipassana meditation, by observing every phenomena occurring at the six senses, by noting rising, falling, sitting, stretching, bending, seeing, hearing, continuously and meticulously. May all yogis be liberated from all suffering. May all yogis realize the real peace in the very near future.